night number 6. You'll see on the slides here, I have class number 7. The more I thought about it, I thought it'd be beneficial to do kind of the final prep work for the final project together as a group, as opposed to a pre-recorded YouTube video. So that's what we'll be covering tonight. So we will actually build the foundation of our final project tonight, incorporating kind of the 2 main goals of tonight's lesson, which are parameters and dashboard actions. So definitely make sure that you guys are following along. If you have questions, obviously ask them. And obviously saving your project at the end of the night as well too, because again, literally the final project will be this same workbook that we're building today and just continuing to build on top of it. So figured to be beneficial for us to go through that together. We do not have class on Monday. Remember, I will send you a recorded video by the end of the week. So you'll have all of weekend and up until Wednesday next week to watch that. There will not be any associated homework with that. It'll be covering the analytics pane, which isn't really like a data viz. It's a lot of really data science-y type stuff in there, which is really cool and cool for you guys to be aware of, but super easy to follow along with and mess around with your own. There's some clustering stuff in there, for forecasting stuff in there, modeling stuff in there. So pay close attention tonight, follow along, stop me if I get going too fast. I will send that recorded video by the end of the week. And then Wednesday of next week, we'll just be coming in, finishing up the final project, and then we'll have our certs. That all makes sense? Any questions? Cool. So there's a lot to cover tonight. So I'm going to skip the storytelling section. Plus, technically, it's off a week anyways. Thank you all for sending me your own personalized data sets and views that you guys put together. Very, very cool for me to click through. A lot of people had food-based reports. So it made me very hungry. If people are out there cooking bread and cookies on their own time, I'd love if you brought them to class on Wednesday. Super, super cool stuff. So great, awesome job there. Apologies that we're not getting the opportunity to go through them as a class here. Definitely something we should do though. Maybe we'll do this Wednesday. We'll all have everyone drop their Tableau public links in the chat in Slack, and we can all follow each other, which one is cool just to kind of boost your followers on Tableau public. But 2, that way you guys can keep up with each other as we're going off on our own and building stuff out, and you can check out the dashboards that we made last week. Sweet. So the final project, what we're going to be building and what we're going to be building tonight. Oops, I just heard somebody joined. Celeste, hello, hello.
Hello.
Perfect timing. We're just getting going here. All you missed is that I am swapping out night 6 and night 7. So tonight we'll cover all the pre-work for the final project. And then the recorded video will be night 6. But that way you guys don't have to do that on your own. So the final project and what we're going to be covering tonight are what I refer to as self-service dashboards. So these are dashboards that you hand over to stakeholders to find their own insights. So we aren't going to spend time trying to show one specific thing, ask one specific question, but give them a dashboard that's dynamic enough to show everything. So we're essentially building a dashboard to allow them to build dashboards without actually having any real Tableau or data viz skills. So let me actually pull up the example that I showed last week. And we'll go through that with a bit more context. But if this is something, obviously, if someone asks you a specific question, what are our profit margins doing by region or any of the other various things that we've covered, you can build a data viz and tell that story. But sometimes people will ask you a very, very broad question and want the opportunity to go through and, kind of get a deep dive understanding. So what this is doing, this is a dashboard that we're going to build. I showed this last week. This will be our final project. This is allowing them to really slice and dice the data any way that they can possibly think of into a like kind of nice sandbox environment where they can't hurt themselves and they don't need to have any real Tableau skills. So here, like in the scatter plot, right, I'm showing sales versus orders. Right now it's broken out by subcategory. You can break that out by shipping mode, by category, by product name, by city. Say that I don't necessarily care about how many sales and orders I have. Those are all pretty strongly correlated. Maybe I want to compare my sales with my profit margins. That's something that we've looked at before. Right now it's by city. Say I really want to dial into my different categories here. Furniture, I do a ton of sales, but not very broad profit margins. Then say, we give these to our regional sales managers. They want to understand how we're doing in specific states. So it looks like we have really low profit margins in like Texas. Okay, well, let's zoom into Texas here. Well, office supplies are really, really hurting us here. Technology is actually doing really good. What about a state where we have really high profit margins like Maine up here? Office supplies are actually kind of carrying it in Maine. Okay, well, where are we at from a sales standpoint here? Oh, we do a ton of sales in California. Those are all pretty similar. So let's dive into subcategory. Right, you guys get the gist. So the thought is we are building, you're tired of answering questions about the same sort of routine things over and over again. What are our sales? What are our profit margins? What about by category? Instead of going back and forth with your stakeholder to build, again, the permutations of this are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 times 5 is 35 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times 7 times another 7. So there's 1,715 different ways that you could do this dashboard. Actually, you can zoom into each state as well too, right? So 1,715 times 50, 85,000 different questions that you can answer with this dashboard. So once you go back and forth a few different times with your stakeholder and you're like, this is the 100th different iteration you've made me build of something that is pretty similar, you just spend a little extra time, build a self-service dashboard, hand that over to them, and now they're able to answer those questions for themselves. So that's the goal of the self-service dashboard. It's a really, really valuable skill set to have of being able to think through what are the questions they might ask and how do I build it in a usable way that someone doesn't need to have Tableau skills to answer. So that's what we're going to learn. That's what we're going to do tonight. Dashboard demo. I just did that. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's all open up Tableau Public.
Yeah. Hey, can you hold on 1 second, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're having computer issues right now.
Okay. Like, am I glitchy? Or you're saying on your end?
No, it's just that the keyboard's not typing for some reason, so we're trying to figure that out.
Oh, gotcha.
All right, you could continue.
Sweet. All right, so go ahead and open up Tableau Public. Grab our Superstore data. Bring over orders. And click into sheet 1. All right. This first, you guys don't need to follow along with this part. I'm just going to show you kind of the concept here, and then we'll build one together. So let's say that I have my different regions here, and I want to track total sales. And this is something, say I'm the VP of sales, and I have 4 different sales managers, and I meet with them weekly to go through how they're doing from a sales kind of goal standpoint. I can say I want to build something that will highlight if they're at or above goal. So we already know how to do that, right? We can create a calculated field, and let's just call this hit goal. Again, you guys don't need to follow along for this part. And we're going to do if sum of sales, I'll zoom in a bit here, is greater than, let's say our goal is 600,000. Then hit goal, else miss. Right, we've made calculated fields like this before. Super easy. We're summing up the sales. That's what we're doing right here. We're going to check if it's greater than 600K. If it is, we're going to call it hit goal, else it calls miss. We've made those before. Now we have a new data point over here. Miss, 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 so on and so forth. But now we can color it this way. And now every single week I can meet with my sales managers and say, hey, you know, east and west, I'd probably color it something a little prettier. Hit goal can be nice and green. Miss can be red. You guys are hitting goals. These are below. However, if I were to publish this out to Tableau Public, and that's what we pulled it up in, what if the next week, it's a seasonal business, our goal has gone up? Maybe our goal is 700K now. Every single time I wanted to adjust that, I would have to go in and update the calculated field, which obviously is not very scalable. Right, we could go into here, we can do hit goal, we'd have to do edit, we'd have to change this from 600K to 700K, hit apply. Now Wes is the only person that's hit. So where calculated fields fail is they're not dynamic and they have to be tied to the data, right? It's a row by row calculation or whatever level that we're calculating it on. To solve for that, Tableau has a feature called parameters. And what parameters are, you can think of it kind of as a global variable. It's not tied to the data at all. It's not in our kind of Excel rows or columns format. It's just a variable out there that we can update and use anywhere. So again, you don't have to follow along with this part yet. But right up here, instead of creating a calculated field, there's another button for create parameter. We'll go through these. We'll call this our goal target. Now you can choose different types for this parameter to be. A float is just like a decimal point. An integer obviously is just 1, 2, 3, 4. String is just text. Boolean is true or false. Date is obviously February 12th. Date time is February 12th at 6:17 p.m. Right, so we just want it to be a basic integer. And the display format, this is, you know, if we want to show it as a percentage or a currency or anything like that. Let's actually show it as a currency. Since that's what they are, we'll just make it custom. And we'll make our current value, and we'll just keep it at 1 for now. Allowable values, we'll let them type in anything that they want in there. So now you can see a brand new section in Tableau. We have our dimensions at the top that we've talked about. We have our measures at the bottom that we've talked about. And now we have parameters. And we have one down here called goal target. So if we right click into that and close show parameter, all this is right now is just a variable that exists. There's nothing tied to it. Right now, goal target equals 500,000. That's it. Now it equals 300,000. That's it. Now it equals 600,000. That's it. But we can now use this variable anywhere. So if I open up my hit goal calculated field that I made, in here, where I hard coded in the $700,000 number, I can replace that with our goal target. And we've talked about coloring a few different times in calculated field. Functions are blue, dimensions measures are orange, parameters are purple. So now, instead of having a hard coded a specific number, like we had 600,000, I am now referencing whatever this is equal to. So if I hit OK, you see this one turn back to green because it's above 600,000. If I change it to 400,000, You can now see that this one's above it, but this one isn't. If I change it to 100,000, you can now see that they're all above it. 800,000, they're all below it. So all a parameter is just a variable that exists that we can update and that we can reference. So now if I publish this in the VP of sales every week, I can come in and say, okay, our goal this week was $650,000. How did you guys do? These guys hit, these guys didn't. Does that make sense at a high level of what parameters are and kind of what they can be useful for?
Quick question. This is Nancy.
Yep.
Is this something that the end user can update, or do we go in and update it?
Both. Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So if I were to publish this, this would also be showing, and the users could go in and type whatever they wanted in there, or obviously we could update it in our analysis. So nice. Yeah, all of these different things that look like filters here are actually different parameters that the end user can update.
Sweet.
Yeah, they're very, very powerful. So this is a numeric parameter. And again, you don't have to follow along with this part either, actually. But let's show an example of like a string or a text parameter. Let's do something like this. I'm going to create a new parameter. And we're going to call this sales or profit. And this is going to be a string. And I'm going to make the allowable values, instead of letting the user type in anything that they want, because people love to mistype stuff, I'm going to give them a list to choose from. And the list that they can choose from are just going to be 2 words: sales or profit. I click OK. I have this parameter. Show my parameter here. I now just have a drop down. This, again, is not tied to our fields, sales or profit, in any sense. All it is a variable that right now equals sales. Right now it equals profit. Sales, profit. It's not tied to our data set at all. It's just a variable that exists. But now we can use this variable. So we create another calculated field here. And we'll just call this measure to show. So now I can do if sales or profit, right? This is my parameter name, equals sales. Let's do profit first, since that's what it actually shows. Profit, right? Right now, sales or profit does equal profit. So if this is true, return profit. Else if sales or profit equals sales, right? That was my other option from the drop down. Oops. Then sales. So now what I can do, I still have this same category. Or whoops, sorry, before I had region. Say we have region. Here I'm only showing sales, right? This is all I could show. The only way to show sales and profit, or sales or profit, would be to make 2 separate sheets, or actually go down and update it each time. Now it's showing profit, or now it's showing sales, now it's showing profit. But now I've created this calculated field that can either return profit or it can return sales based on what this is showing. So this is a brand new measure that right now is summing up, since this equals profit, it's returning profit for each row. So right now it's summing up profit. However, if I go in and click into this, now it's showing sales. And to show you guys that that's true, I'll actually go ahead and pull profit up here, pull sales up here. So right now you can see that the measure to show is equal to the sales bar here, right? 501, 501, 678, 678. If I change it to profit, this one updates, now equals my profit bar here. So now I've actually created not just a color, a categorical, kind of did it hit or not, red, green, hit goal, miss goal, but I'm actually showing a completely different measure based on what the parameter is here. So now we can actually go and combine those two together, right? Here's my goal target. Here's my sales or profit. For my hit goal here, right? In here, I had it hard coded. If sales is equal to goal target, then hit goal, else miss. Let's just go ahead and replace that with our measure to show calculated field. So this is either going to return sales or profit based on what this is updating. And it needs to be greater than whatever this one is updated, and hit OK. Now I can drag this onto this. Right now, they're all red because my goal is 650K. So if that was my sales goal, these two hit. But let's say my profit goal, they're all red. My profit goal is like 100K. Now these could update. So now I've combined both what I'm showing on my chart here. So I can go with all my sales managers. How much did you sell? What was our goal? Have it updated. Okay, well, how much profit did you actually make? What was our goal? And have those update here. So parameters can be both numerical, they can be integers, they can be strings. You can use them to make calculated fields. They're very, very powerful. So again, the sales or profit one here, this is actually what we're about to build as a class, right? That's all that this is doing here, is just different measure names that are returning different measure values based on what I select here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, this is Nancy again. Do you find that you use this quite a bit in real life?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, actually, we just made one today. Let me go ahead and show you. I've talked a lot during this class about Buildertrend's new pricing and packaging because that went live pretty much the same day that I started teaching here. So this was a dashboard that we built today to keep track of kind of the running sales that we do every single day. You guys haven't signed NDAs, so don't share this. But we wanted to show 4 different metrics here, right? ARR, MRR, total sales, actually 5, average MRR, average ARR. So you can click around each one of these. And instead of having to make 5 different reports or put 5 different tables all in one view there, which obviously can get very, very convoluted, we just tossed them into a parameter, published it, and said, hey, here's how we're doing. Track it as you see fit. What other questions do you guys have? We're going to end up building for the final project 1, 2, 3, 4 different parameters, all with a ton of different choices. So I want to make sure that you guys understand how these function really, really well. Okay, if there's no other questions, let's actually go ahead and start building some ourselves. So let's start with the map, actually, because we haven't built a map before. Some of you guys have in your homework. They're actually really easy. So let's start with that. And then we'll go from there. So maps, are super easy in Tableau. Like I said, I've mentioned a few different times in your measure and dimensions over here, they have these little icons beside each one of them. ABC means that it's a text. This globe looking thing, actually, I don't know if you would have known it as a globe if I wouldn't have called it a globe, but the thing that kind of looks like a volleyball is a globe. That's Tableau actually picking up and recognizing that these are geographical data. So based on what the values are inside of these things, Tableau actually has an internal database that says, okay, these are a list of countries, and I can tell that these countries the values are actually countries. Postal codes, it can recognize that these are postal codes. States, it can recognize that these are states, so on and so forth. All you need to do to make a map in Tableau is when you see one of these globe looking things, we're going to use state. If you just double click it, it will automatically populate here. So what that did when it double clicked is Tableau, again, in this kind of internal database that it has based on states and countries and zip codes, is it actually has all of those mapped to a latitude and longitude. So states, it just puts right in the very centroid center of the state. If I were to do like postal code, it has each one of those mapped to the center of the postal code as well too. So where it says latitude generated, longitude generated, that just means we don't actually have a latitude and longitude column in our data set, right? But we have a postal code column, and Tableau automatically knows what the latitude and longitude are. So it drives the longitude up the columns, right? The long going this way, and the latitude on rows going across our different rows here. And that is how it maps these different points. So like I said, what we're going to do is state. Does everyone have something that looks like this? Cool. Yes. So by default, you can see it gives you your little automatic little dots here. If I drug sales onto like size or something, it would make the dots bigger based on where they're at. I always think that maps look a little prettier if you color in the entire state in this instance. So under marks, instead of automatic, you can see that there's actual a map thing, a map option. And when you click into that, now you can see each one of them is colored here. But they're all colored the same. Why? Anybody?
There's no data to differentiate anything.
They're all states, so they'd all be the same color.
Exactly. There's no measure, no data. They're all the same. All we have right now is that it's a state. So you can see in our little tooltip, nothing's popping up. So to make them a different color, let's start just with sales like we always do. All you have to do is drag that onto color. And voila. We now have this little color key here. The lighter the blue is, 920 is our minimum one. The less sales we have, the heavier the blue. 457,000 is our maximum one. All of them are colored, and now you can cover over each one and see the total sales by state. So obviously this is a way better view that really resonates with people a lot more, as opposed to if I were to just like drag my states on the column and show it this way. Anytime you're using geographical stuff, it's just better to toss it in a map here. Okay, everyone have this so far? Sweet, appreciate the thumbs up. We'll give Melanie 1 second. I think she just got up for a second. Sweet. So right now we are showing sales for the color. And again, this is what we will be building for our final project here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We want to make the ability for our end user to choose how we're coloring our states. It also just so happens that it also colors the scatter plot, but we'll get to that later on. So right now we're just showing this, right? Sales by state. So let's create our first parameter to allow our users to choose different measures. So to do that, we're just going to click in to create parameter. And let's call this measure.
Hold on 1 second. I'm writing down something.
Sorry, you're a little echoey there. Did you say hold on a second?
Yeah, I'm writing down something real quick.
Okay, all good.
While he's doing that, how did you do the create parameter again?
Yep, it's just right up like we would create a calculated field.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, I'm good.
Sweet. So create that parameter. Again, just a little arrow like we're creating a calculated field, except create parameter. We're going to call this measure to show. Now, this is just like I did in the example before, where we're going to have a list of different options for our end user to select. So we want those to be strings or text values. And we don't want the allowable values to be all. Like I said, we want it to be a list. And let's go ahead and add in our measures that we have by default. So we'll go sales. Discount is another one. I'm just going down the list right here. Discount, we have profit, quantity, and sales. So we have 4 by default. Let's just stick with those 4. Now, the value in what you type in here is really important, because remember, we're going to be making a calculated field where we're going to say if something equals one of these values, then return something. So if we have a lowercase s in here, I don't know why it won't let me update it. In my calculated field, I'm going to need to type if it equals sales with a lowercase s. If we spell it, if we just call it sale, we're going to need to do that. So we can type whatever we want, right? We could have if it equals ASDF, then return sales. It doesn't matter what we type. It's just important that we type, we match what we type across the two. So a good rule of thumb, and what I always try to do, especially when I'm building something like this, is if I type it exactly like it's listed in my measures, then I just have to type the same thing twice. If it equals sales with a capital S, return sales with a capital S. You can change how they're displayed. So maybe my measure name, right? I pretend I didn't already make this measure to show, pretend that just came with the data set as a column. I can call it measure to show. That might be really confusing for my end user. What the heck does measure to show mean? Well, that's actually, again, this is a made up example, profit margin. So I can display it however I want to my end users, but the value is what matters here. And again, so for the value, I always try to type them exactly like they're listed in my measures. So if we click OK, and I'm actually going to delete that calculated field I made earlier. I'm going to delete all my calculated fields so we don't get confused as we're building stuff out together. We should all have a parameter now called measure to show. In order to see it over on the right, we just click this little arrow and click show parameter. Does everyone have this little drop down over here that says sales, discount, profit, quantity? Couple thumbs up, couple head nods. Perfect. You
I
can
don't have that. I just have the color bar.
Okay, just make sure you click this little arrow on your parameter and check this show parameter at the top.
For some reason, mine's like super like low on the bottom. I don't know if that's an Apple thing, but
Oh, really?
it's just like, you know how you have a little bit of space? Mine's like completely like.
Oh, to be fair, I did actually.
You can scroll it up.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
just like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Mine started down
Thank
there
you.
too, and I drug it
Thank
up.
you.
Yep. Okay. And show parameter. Now this is purely like what you guys prefer, but just so you know, they have the option. In our parameter over here on the right now, if I click this arrow, I can show it right now. It's a compact list, right? That means that it drops down. I can show it as a single value list, which shows all of them. And I click into each with these little radio buttons. I can show it as a slider, which is weird, but you can actually scroll through each option here. What's the other one? Type in, which wouldn't actually make sense because we gave it a list. Or you can format it just like we have formatted our sheets itself. If you want to change the font, the color and stuff. I like these. Well, actually, I like them for different reasons depending on how I'm building my dashboard. But when I'm building stuff out for the first time, I like to show them as a single value list just so I can see what all my options are without having to click into it. All right. I'm cheating a little bit because I know what we're ultimately going to build here, right? This parameter is going to be what dictates the color across all of these. And we have our parameter with the measure to show here. So now we're going to create a calculated field using that parameter. So let's go ahead and create a calculated field now. And the reason I was saying what it's going to be used for, let's call it color measure, right? Because it's going to be a measure and we're going to use it to color stuff. So that'll just help us keep track of stuff. And now we're just going to make an if statement. If, right, we have all of our different options right here. So we're going to have to do for if else. If our measure to show equals sales, then return the field sales. So again, this is what I was talking about of why I like to type them in exactly the same. If this was typed wrong, right, this doesn't actually equal that now, right? Because this one has a lowercase s, this one has a capital S. So just to avoid confusion, if I type them the same, then I can make sure that as long as these two things match, I know that it's going to actually function as expected.
Real quick, Charlie, if there's like extra spaces, does that affect anything?
Nope.
Okay.
Extra spaces.
Okay.
Sometimes I'll actually, like, if I'm doing a really long, like multiple thing, like I showed you guys when I first showed if statements, if this equals sales and something else or something else, I'll actually break them into different lines. But no, it doesn't.
Just kind of have it like code where it's like.
Yeah, doesn't matter, but there's best practices from like a readability standpoint.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. So if it equals sales, then sales. Else, if measure to show equals, right, we're just going to go down our list. Discount, spelled exactly the same. Then discount our field. Else if measure to show equals, and I know I'm typing fast here, but I'll leave it up for a bit, equals profit, then profit. Else if measure to show equals quantity, then quantity. in. All right. So make sure that all your measures to show are purple. Make sure that all of your text things are enclosed in quotation marks. Make sure that all of those match exactly what's listed in our measure to show parameter. And then obviously make sure all of our field names are in orange.
My measure to show is going to capitalize. I've clicked capitalize and it won't do it for some reason.
Like the purple thing here.
Yeah.
If you just delete it and start typing it in, measure to show, it should give you the option to just click into there. It's just going to be called whatever it's typed as over here. So if you had it capitalized, that's fine. It'll pull in.
So it doesn't matter if it's capitalized or uncapitalized? Or does it
No,
still-
as long as it matches what you called your parameter.
Okay.
All right. Give me some thumbs up and head nods when you guys have this. A couple more people typing. Cool. Once you have it, hit OK. And voila, we have a new measure called our color measure.
Hold on. I have two more to do. Sorry.
You have a what?
I have two more measurements to do. Hold on.
Okay, we're good. Let me know when you're good, Peyton.
All right, I'm good.
Cool. Click OK. We have our measure here. So now all we have to do is just drag off our boring, static, fixed sum of sales off our color and drag our color measure onto our color. So it should look the same to start because we're selected on sales, but you should be able to click through each one of these now. Discount updated, profit updated, quantity updated. Everyone have that working? Cool. Now, let's think through. Right now, I'm showing the sum for our measure here. The sum of sales, the sum of discount, sum of profit, sum of quantity, right? No matter what is in here, depending on what I select, it's going to sum this up. What if I wanted to show either the sum of sales or the average discount? How would we go about being able to change what the aggregation is based on the measure to show. Any guesses?
Quick calculation.
Quick calc, not a bad idea. Any other
Can we
thoughts?
format it?
We could format it. The tough thing about both of those is it would still apply to it would apply to all of our options here because we still only have one color measure here. But we've talked about kind of the order of operations before. Instead of just returning our row level values here, we can actually do the aggregation in our calculated field. So say I wanted my sales to be summed. I could just type in sum. It's going to give you an ugly error because they all have to be aggregated or none of them can be aggregated. But let's say discount we wanted to be average. Okay, well, let's return the average discount. Let's say profit we want to be summed.
You want us to make those changes?
Yeah. Let's all go make these changes. And I'll pull this back up in a second, right? So now, instead of just returning sales and then summing it up, if this is equal to sales, I'm going to go ahead and sum the sales. If this is equal to discount, I'm going to average the discount, sum and sum. So now if I hit OK, and again, I'll pull that back up in a second, this breaks because I can't sum a sum, which is what's happening here. But if I pull it back onto here, we now have that AGG, which means it's already aggregated. So when I'm on sales, we know the aggregation in the background is the sum of sales. If I go into discount, we know the aggregation in the background is the average discount.
Wait just a sec. To get AGG, you put color measure onto color?
Yep. Once you have it typed up like this,
Uh-huh.
it will break for a second because we performed the aggregation. So I pulled off the sum of colored measure and just drug it right back on there. And it will
It
pull
says-
in the AGG.
Says calculation is invalid. Maybe I fat finger something. Okay.
Yep. I'll leave it up here for a second for you guys to match here.
Wait, what did you do with the sum again?
I am wrapping all the values that I had in there before in this sum function.
Yeah, how did you do that? Sorry, I know you just explained it, but
You just type it in.
oh, okay.
Quick question. Probably Miss Estelle, but for some reason, I'm getting null values on my cells when I clicked on the measure to show.
Okay. Is this
Yeah, and
typed here? What you
Yes.
have typed here?
yes, cells and cells.
Do you have a space in there, perhaps?
Okay, not on the calculated, but maybe.
So if you want to go into the parameter, same thing. You just click this arrow here and click edit
Okay.
and make sure you should be able to double click into there and make sure there's no spaces.
Let me see.
And if those are both right, those are just typical.
You're correctly. Yep, you're right. I did have a space.
Ha!
Okay.
I knew
Appreciate
it.
that.
Yep, no problem.
It's very case sensitive.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I clicked OK, my sum color measure turned
Yep.
red?
Yep. So yours will say sum, and then the color measure. What that's
Yeah.
trying to do is it's trying to sum. That's what we had before, is trying to sum it up, but it's already summed up right now. So just pull that one off, pull the red one off, and just replace it with color measure again. And that's when you should get your aggregated color measure.
Hold on, mine has I did something wrong. It says calculation contains errors. Can I see it again?
Yep. Again, a really kind of quick, easy way to spot check it. Just make sure that all of these are orange. All of these are blue. All of these are purple.
Okay, I figured it out. Hold on.
When I hover over the states, it says color measure. Expected it to say sales discount, profit, or quantity.
Yep. Let's we'll fix that here in a second.
Hold on, 2 more.
I am. So mine looks like you said we just take off the red sum part.
Yep. You should just be able to drag that off.
Okay.
And then just replace it with your new one.
With
Right.
color measure
Yep.
under color.
Yep.
Okay. And then last question. Under the boxes that say ag color and state.
Yep.
Mine states ag color state measure to show, measure to show. I take off those two measure to shows.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I got it.
Sweet. All right. We're going to do a couple more things, then we'll take a break. The good news is that the rest of these, the other 5 parameters we need to build, is going to be just like other class examples where you guys get really annoyed because we do the same thing over and over again. So we'll get plenty of practice here. But what I don't like now, I love that we're showing average discount as opposed to summing up the discount, because I don't think summing up all the discounts really makes sense. But discount, I think, is really, really vague and ambiguous. So let's change that option. So to do that, let's click into measure to show and click edit. And in our values, right, we can keep discount exactly the same, right? Because that's what's tied. That's what we're referencing in our calculated field. We said if it equals discount, capital DISCOUNT, then return discount. Let's just update the display as, right? So if we just click into that and just type average discount. Again, this doesn't matter at all about case sensitive, if there's spaces, anything like that. I could type in ASDF. All that this is doing is when I click OK, now in my parameter up here, it's displaying as average discount, even though the value for it is discount, right? Does that make sense? So that's like kind of a use case of when those two things would be different, when the measure, what we're measuring, is no longer clearly tied to what we're displaying here. So since everything else is sales, I think this makes sense. If you wanted, you could change all those display values and call it total sales, total profit, total quantity, average discount, or something like that. But if you ever want to update things, which, spoiler, you're going to have to do for the final project, right? There's lots of different options in here: days to ship, profit margin, orders, so on and so forth. It's as easy as just clicking in here, clicking edit, and making that update. All right. The last thing we'll do, and then we'll take a break. Someone asked the question. I can't remember who. Apologies. When I'm hovering over here, it says state Wyoming. That makes sense. And then it says color measure 0.2. That right? That's our average discount. We know that because we're selected on it. But the tooltip no longer really makes sense. If I click sales, showing color measure, quantity, it's showing color measure. So we've alluded to this a couple times. I don't know if we've ever actually done it in class. We can update our tooltip, right? So if I just click on the tooltip button, this little text editor pops up. You can see that I have state. And then again, anything in bold with brackets is referencing a value. So it's pulling in whatever state I'm on. And then it's showing color measure. And then this, our actual color measure. So we want this part, the label here, to be dynamic based on the parameter. Well, let's go ahead and just get rid of color measure then. Delete it out. And again, I said you can use parameters anywhere. We can even use them in our tooltip. So if I click insert here, it will give me all sorts of different options. The username is actually one that I use a lot when I publish stuff like to our sales reps. So we'll say like, hello, Charlie Burtwhistle. It'll actually pull that like from your computer Active Directory, page numbers, data source things, whatever. There's a lot of things that don't really matter. But the point is you can insert a lot of stuff into your tooltip. We also can insert parameters dot measure to show. That's what this is. We know that the value of that, we can let the user choose. Right now, the value of that is quantity. And we know that when the value is quantity, we're going to return the total quantity for our color measure. So if I just click on that, you will see it insert something there with those little pointy brackets on either side of it, which means that it's referencing a field. And now if I hit OK, when I hover over something, it'll say state, Nebraska, quantity 136. Well, what if our measure to show equals sales? Now it'll say state Nebraska sales 7,000. So updating the measure to show parameter not only is updating our calculated field, which is our color measure, it's also just updating the label in our tooltip. Average discount, average discount. Everyone have that? Okay, I lied. We're going to do one more thing, then we'll take a break.
Can you wait 1 second? I'm so lost on that. Can you quickly do that again?
Yeah, absolutely. So all you do is click into tooltip over here on our marks card.
Got it.
It will pull up this little text editor. I just got rid of what was previously, I think it said color measure. I
Right.
deleted that.
Right.
Then you just click insert in the top right here. There's a list of options and objects that you can insert. I'm going to insert parameters dot measure to show.
Ah, there it is. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, sorry, I thought I had to sneeze. So that's how you get that. Someone else asked a couple of weeks ago, actually, I mentioned you can actually show sheets. You guys don't have to do this part, but I can actually insert an entire worksheet in here. So if I show sheet 1, when I hover over this,
That's nice.
yeah, so you could make this using parameters actually. Like when I hover over South Dakota, I show another chart about South Dakota. When I hover over Nebraska, I show, obviously this isn't tied to anything right now. But I'm going to get rid of that. You can insert a lot of cool stuff. Like I said, if I were to do full name, it will actually say, hey, buildertrend/charlie.burtwhistle. It's just whatever your computer is named as. Okay, last thing, and this is super similar to the tooltip, so it should go pretty quick. Let's double click into our title here where it says sheet 3. Right, we named stuff in the past. We were really descriptive. We would have called this something like sales by state. But now it's going to be dynamic based on what we select. So let's make our title dynamic too. So let's go ahead and get rid of what's in there. We don't want it to reference the sheet name. Let's go ahead and insert that parameter again. Insert measure to show. So right now, this would pull in average discount, sales, profit, quantity, right? Let's just go ahead and type in like by state.
That's cool.
Cool. Everyone have this?
Mhm.
We are halfway done with the final project. We have this piece right here done, kind of. You're gonna have to add in a couple more measures, but halfway done. Let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back and we'll build out the start of our scatter plot. So let's be back here at 7:15. All right. Apologies for being 1 minute late. I was letting my dog out. All right. So we now have this map, and we can choose what we're showing on the map. We are now going to build out this scatter plot. So the scatter plot has a few different functions to it. One that we've already covered, it's colored based on the parameter that we already created. So as we update how the map is colored, this is also updated. It also shows either sales and profit margin on the Y and the X axis, but we can update what's on the Y and the X axis. So if we want to change the Y axis from sales to profit, we can do that. If we want to change the X axis from profit margin to average discount, we can do that. And then the last thing is what is grouped by category, by subcategory, by product name, so on and so forth. So the good news is the first kind of three things I covered there, how it's colored, that part is already done. You can also see the Y and the X axis are exactly the same as this parameter, the same options, right? It's just an option of the measures that we're choosing. So we're going to be able to do a lot of copy paste stuff to get the X axis, the Y axis, and the color part done. And then it will really just be kind of one net new parameter that we're making for the breakout here. So let us go ahead and get started. I'm going to delete some of my other sheets. I would rename this one. You can rename it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it map so we don't lose track of it. But again, since we overwrote the title here, it doesn't really matter what we name it anymore. So let's create a new sheet. And to start, let's just build sales on the columns, profit on the rows, and let's toss category onto the colors. Just so we have something to kind of build off of, so we can see it as it updates. So we should all have this basic scatter plot here. Sales versus profits, colored, broken out by category here. We want the ability to change both our Y-axis and our X-axis based on different parameters. And again, those parameters are going to be exactly the same as the one we just created. So let's make it really easy. Let's click the arrow on the one we already created instead of making one from scratch. And let's just duplicate. So instead of show parameter, you have cut, copy, edit. We've clicked edit a few times. Let's click duplicate. So now we have this measure to show, parentheses, copy. We can click into that again and choose rename. And let's just call this Y axis. Again, to show that, you just click the arrow and click show parameter. So now we have this Y-axis parameter, and it's exactly the same as our measure to show was. So we skipped a few steps there, which is helpful. Again, I like to click this arrow and choose the single value list just so I can see what my different options are. Now you can see as I change these, nothing happens because all of my calculated fields are referencing the color measure, right? So I've created a new parameter. Nothing's connected to it yet. We didn't change the old one at all. This was just our ability to update that.
I don't see Y-axis on there. I copied and then I renamed it to Y-axis. That's all I did.
Do you remember how we got the last one to show over to the right?
The measure to show?
Yeah, we just had to click into that arrow and click show parameter.
Oh, show per. Okay, I forgot about that. Okay,
All good.
thank you.
Yep. Whoops. Let me get rid of that banner scrolling across. Okay. So now we have this new parameter. It's not connected to anything. We are going to want it to be based on when we click one of these things, we're going to want to change the measure. So it's going to be very, very similar to our color measure, right? I'm just going to click edit here to show you guys this. When we click on sales, we want it to show the sum of sales. When we click on discount, we renamed it or displayed it differently. We want it to show the average discount, so on and so forth. So instead of typing that all from scratch again, let's also click into our color measure, click that arrow and choose duplicate. Now we have color measure copy. Let's call this y-axis measure. So now what do we need to change in this new calculated field to get it to work with our y-axis parameter?
The measure to show.
Yep, exactly. This is referencing the measure to show parameter. We want it to access the y-axis parameter. So that's as easy as just deleting that, typing in y-axis, and clicking tab. Oops. Y-axis, y-axis, y-axis. I'll leave this up for a couple more seconds. It should be exactly as we had it before, except instead of measure to show, each of these should say y-axis. They should all be in purple. We shouldn't change anything other than these 4 fields. All right, if you guys have that, moment of truth, click OK. And this is going to be our y-axis, right? So going this way. So we're going to drag sum of profit off our rows and drag our new y-axis measure onto rows. Then to test it, we're going to click into each option here. Sales, right? Sales by sales, make sure it makes sense that they're 100% correlated. Average discount, profit, and quantity.
Wait, what did we do after we put y-axis on the rows again?
That's it. Then just
That's
click
it.
around it. Click around into some of the options and make sure that all 4 of them update your chart.
Okay. All right.
Cool. Now we are going to do that same exact thing for the x-axis, right? So we're going to need to duplicate a parameter, change the name of it to x-axis, show it over here, then duplicate either our color measure or our y-axis. They're both the same. Change the title of that to x-axis, and then update the values in here to be x-axis instead of y-axis. I'm going to give everyone like 3 minutes to see if they can do that on their own. And then I'll jump in and walk you guys through it. Couple more minutes here. One more minute. All right. If you guys didn't get it, I will walk through it real quick here. We're going to duplicate our y-axis. We're going to rename that x-axis. We're going to click the arrow and choose show parameter. And I'm going to click this arrow and choose single value list. So now I have an x-axis. I can click into anything. You can see it doesn't update because we don't have anything tied to this parameter. So now I'm going to duplicate my measure. Oops. Y-axis measure. I'm going to rename it x-axis measure. And now I'm going to click into edit it and replace my references from y-axis to x-axis. I'll hit OK. And then I will pull off sum of sales from my columns and drag y-axis measure up to my columns.
I'm having issues. When you duplicate the beginning, it's from the bottom under parameters, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay, and then after I have the x-axis, I did that. How do I change the language on it? Or you know what I mean?
To rename it?
I have the rename,
Yep.
and then to change like...
Yep, so you'll want to duplicate either your y-axis measure or your color measure, one of your two calculated fields.
Okay, that's what I'm missing.
Yep, and then you'll just click the arrow and choose edit. And then you just need to replace your y-axis references in here to x-axis.
Okay, and then rename x-axis measure, and then edit. Okay, I am following now.
Cool. Then again, all you'll need to do is just drag that up to your columns. So you should have your x-axis measure on the columns, y-axis measure on the rows. And then you should be able to click into both your y-axis and your x-axis and have them update. Anyone else still working to get the Y and the X axis measures done? Everyone good? Thumbs up. Sweet. Okay. So now, I actually did this already, but you guys will all have your labels will say Y-axis measure and X-axis measure. Just like we wanted to do for our tooltip here, we want to change the name of these to actually be what we're selected on here. So you just double click into that. And in the title, right, in the past, we've gone and just like deleted those out. We know how to do that. Instead of custom, which lets us type whatever we want, just click into that. And if you're on the Y-axis, choose where it says use value Y-axis. So now as you see, as I update my Y-axis, that will change. Then if you missed that, or if you got it, again, to do that, you just click into your axis. So I'm going to do the X-axis now. And instead of custom, I'm going to choose use value X-axis.
I'm sorry, I have no idea what I did, but the only on the legend on the right for X, the only thing that I have is quantity. I really don't know what I did.
Sorry, you're cutting out. Could you say that one more time?
Yeah, for the legend on the right with the scroll, to change the names for the X axis all the way up the right, I only have quantity.
Click this little arrow here.
Okay.
And change it to a single value list.
It won't, like, that is the only one. Like, there is no drop, like when I click on the drop down or, for there is no way to change it.
Gotcha. You said that was the X.
Sorry.
You're fine. I love dogs.
They're annoying me.
You said that was for the X-axis?
Yes.
Is
The
your
Y-axis, everything's fine there. It's just that X-axis.
Okay, let's click into that X-axis and choose edit.
Okay.
You have all your values listed here.
Yes.
Okay. Just in case, if you click that arrow again, is show parameter checked?
That might be what I'm missing. Let's see. That's what I'm missing.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I have two different X-axes.
So I wonder, I'm not sure what the other one would be. That's really interesting.
Hold on.
Do you only have
I fixed it.
Okay.
I don't know what I did, but I fixed it. So I think I'm good now.
Love that. Nope, totally fine. All right. Now, let's just update our title again. And we're just going to do the same exact thing. We're going to double click into that. Let's get rid of the sheet name. And let's just insert parameters.x-axis. Let's click that. And then let's just type versus. And then let's insert again parameters.y-axis. Is that how I did it? Yeah. So now you should be able to click through your X and your Y axis options and see the chart change and the title change. Then I'm just going to rename the sheet, and let's just call this scatter plot. All right, so let's check in on how we're doing. We have our color measure here. That's done. We have our x-axis here. That's done. We have our y-axis here. That's done. The last parameter that we need to make, after this, it'll just be adding different options into them. The last one we need to make is the breakout parameter. So that's just choosing not which measure. We're not updating measures on the x or y axis or measures on the color, but we're going to actually update which dimension we are grouping by. So let's open Tableau Public back up. We're not going to be able to copy and paste anymore because we are no longer doing measures. So we're going to have to create a new parameter. So we're going to click this arrow. We're going to choose create parameter. We're going to call this, let's just call it dimension parameter. And maybe like dimension choice. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Something alluding to it being a dimension instead of a measure. I'm going to call mine dimension choice. This is also going to be a string. It is also going to be a list. And again, we just want to get it working. So we're not going to choose every single possible dimension that we could. But let's go ahead and add in category. And let's do region. Oh, and let's just keep those two for now. We don't need to get too far ahead of ourselves. We just want to make sure it's working. So name it dimension choice. Make sure it's a string. Make sure it's a list. And then type in category and region. Again, you don't have to, but best practice here, make sure that category is typed just like category is typed here. And region is typed just like region is typed here. We'll click OK. You'll see we have a new parameter here called dimension choice. Let's go ahead and click that arrow and click show parameter. Again, it gives you this compact list. Let's make it a single value list. So we have category versus region. I can click into both. Nothing changes. What will be our next step?
I'm guessing calculated. Oh, wait, never mind. We can't do that.
Nope. Yep, that was it. You nailed it.
Oh, we can?
Yep.
Okay.
So let's create a calculated field. So we're going to click our arrow, create calculated field. I don't know. I'm just going to call it the same thing. Dimension choice doesn't matter. And it's going to be just like our other ones were with an if statement. If our dimension choice, right? That's the new one we just created, equals category, oops, in quotes, obviously. Then return category, the field. Right? So if it's selected into category, it's going to return either office supplies or electronics or whatever furniture or other things were. Else, dimension choice equals region, then return region. So this will obviously return north, south, east, or west. And after that, we can't forget to end it with an end. So if dimension choice equals category, which it doesn't right now, so it won't return anything. Else, if it equals region, which it does right now, return region. So now we're no longer returning things that we're going to sum or aggregate or anything like that. We're returning categorical or dimension type data. So make sure these are purple, make sure these are single quotes, make sure that they're typed exactly the way that they're listed over here in our dimension choice parameter. Make sure both of these are orange. And if everything looks good, it should say the calculation is valid. We click OK. And now you'll notice it popped up here in our dimensions as opposed to our previous ones, which were in our measures. So let's take this and drag this onto detail. So now you can see that we have multiple colors here. And it's not just grouping by our region, right? We should only have 4 dots if it was grouping by region. Does anyone want to guess why we have so many other dots, potentially 12?
I didn't get those other dimensions. I only got 3.
Okay. Well, you might be one step ahead. That's fine.
Oh. Okay.
What are we grouping by right now? At least on my screen. We're measuring quantity. Sorry, go ahead.
Is it quantity or region?
We're measuring quantity and average discount.
We're grouping by category?
Bingo. Yep. So before we had category on color just to like kind of build it out. So we're grouping by category and dimension choice. So you can see the 3 blue ones are all our furniture category, but we just want to group by our dimension choice. So we can get rid of category and drag that off and make sure our dimension choice is on the details. Now I should be able to click into category. Boom, 3 dots. Region, boom, 4 dots.
Yeah, now I only have 1. So I did some. It might have been the quick calculations.
Do you
I
have
swear I got it right.
dimension choice onto your details?
Dimension. Oh, maybe not. How'd you do that? Oh, okay. Wait, no, yeah, I did do that. So can I see the dimension quick calculations real quick? See if I did that wrong.
Yeah. If you click into do both of them only show 1, or does one show 1 and one show?
One shows 1 and then the other shows 2.
Wait, that should be right then.
Oh.
Well, I guess you should have 3 and 4.
Okay.
So the one that's showing 1, I'll show you guys in case someone else runs into this problem as they're doing the final. If I had like a typo in here, like category or something, and I click into category, now I'm no longer grouping by category because nothing equals this, right? So whichever one of yours, Peyton, is showing 1, there's likely a typo either in what you typed here.
Oh,
or what you
yeah,
typed.
it's region.
There you go. Good. This is good. Good problem solving because we're gonna have to update these a lot.
Okay, there we go. Yes. Okay. And then you drag off category, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Drag on dimension choice.
Okay, I got it now.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and also drag on. Let's take dimension choice again and drag that onto label, just so we can see a little bit clearer instead of just counting dots that it's working there. All right, and then if you guys remember, in the example I was showing for the final project, what were these colored by? We've already created it.
Color measure?
Bingo. Yep. So we've already created color measure, right? That's what our map is colored by. So let's just drag color measure onto the color right here. So again, by default, Tableau automatic, right? It gives you these kind of hollow circles. I think those are kind of hard to see. So if you click into this and just choose circle instead, it gives you a nice filled in circle. If you want them a little bigger, right, you can click into size and drag this up. That makes it just a little easier to see the color there. So again, just change it from automatic to circle, or potentially you guys like squares. Or if you just click on shape, it actually gives you this little shape option. You can choose all sorts of cool, fun little stars or circles or X's or triangles. There's actually even more shapes, believe it or not, that you guys can click into here. But I'm going to keep mine just on the normal circle. All right. Believe it or not, we are probably 70% of the way done already with our final project. The one thing that you guys are going to have to do a lot of, so let's just do at least one, is go in and add more options for all of these. So let's just, for practice, add one more option for our dimension choice. Say we also want the ability to group by shipping mode, for instance. That's an easy one without too many options in there. So to add that in, the first thing that we're going to have to do is just even create it as a choice, right? So in our parameter for dimension choice, if we click into the arrow and click edit, you can see right now our only options are category and region. Let's go ahead and add in ship mode. Again, I would recommend typing it exactly as it is here with a capital S, capital M, and a single space in between. Now, if I click OK, you can see that I have a third choice here, ship mode. But when I click into that, I get the dreaded one dot because it's not grouping by anything, because we don't have an option in our calculated field for if it doesn't equal category or region, right? Category and region work fine. Ship mode doesn't.
Can you bring up edit parameter real quick? Yeah.
Yep. So in our dimension choice.
I was catching up.
Yep. All good.
Yep.
We just need to add in ship mode.
Thank you.
So the only thing that we need to do to make this work is update our dimension choice calculated field. So I'm going to click into edit here. And you can see I have an if statement for if it equals category. I have an if statement for if it equals region. I do not have an if statement for it equals ship mode, which is what it equals right now, which is why this isn't grouping by anything. So all we need to do, you can type it out from scratch if you want. I'm just going to copy and paste my last one and say if it equals, again, type it exactly the same, ship mode. Then obviously instead of returning region, we're going to want to return ship mode. Cool. Once we have that, if we click OK, it should pop up. Same class, first class, second class, standard class. Or I can go back to region, south, central, east, west, or I can go back to category, furniture, technology, office supplies. Right now I'm showing quantity versus average discount. I could show profit versus quantity. I could show profit versus sales, so on and so forth. So already right here, we have 4 times 4, which is 16 times 3, 32, 48 different chart combinations that we could make just from clicking buttons now. Nobody fact check me on that permutation. I could be wrong. All right, let's bring it back together. So we have our map done. We have our scatter plot done. Let's go ahead and create our dashboard and combine the two. I'm going to change the size of my dashboard like I always do to a fixed size. And I'm going to make it a generic desktop. If you guys are working on laptops or something though, and this is bigger than the screen that you're working with, feel free to make it a little less wide or a little less high, whatever you guys want. And all I'm going to do is drag the map on there. And then I'm going to drag the scatter plot to the right of it. So now I have them both side by side. I have all my different things over to the right here. If I click into measure to show and change that to sales, the color for both of my things change, right? Because it's the same parameter for both of them. Average discount, profit, quantity. My scatter plot doesn't change though, but I can change my dimension choice. Category, region, ship mode. I can change my y-axis to average discount, profit, quantity, so on and so forth. Does everyone have this so far? Good. Cool. Let's all collectively right now save together. Probably should have done this multiple times tonight. I told you I'm notoriously bad at remembering to save. I'm going to call this, you guys can call it whatever you want, ODSA Spring 2025 Final Project. And I'm going to click Save. You guys should have it saved. And we'll go from there. Give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back, but we're pretty much done for the night, so just give me 2 minutes. All right, I'm back. Now, I think we're going to call it for tonight because I want to give you some time to kind of make this your own. So let's talk about next steps. Everyone has this. this is really, really ugly right now. So we've learned a ton of different things already about data ink ratio, overlap in unnecessary information, titling things appropriately. Like, would an end user know what measure to show means? Probably not. We called it that so we could keep track of it. Does dimension choice make sense? I'm updating my measure to show over on the right, but it updates both of them. I don't have a dashboard title. My color measure is kind of boring. Their Tableau default color is just blue and orange. Maybe I really like purple. I have a ton of ugly grid lines in here, so on and so forth. So I want to give you the rest of the time tonight, or obviously if you want to get out of here and do it later, feel free to do that as well too. But the homework for tonight will be to clean up what we currently have, because the final project, oh, that's the one I just published. I was going to say that doesn't look any better, is in the same exact layout structure, right? We have all the plumbing working. We'll just need to update and add some additional choices. But that we will build on top of what we've built tonight. So the UI, the visual of it, we won't make any more updates. So I want to make sure you guys have plenty of time to make it look presentable and to make it your own. To be fair, it doesn't have to be in this layout either. If you want to make them, up and down instead, if you think that's a better view, that's great. If you want to make the map way bigger, maybe you want all of your filters down, like underneath this one at the bottom. Whatever. The point is, I want you to play around, make it your own, update the colors, get rid of the grid lines, make it look pretty, add in a dashboard title. That will be the next step for tonight that you guys are going to do on your own. For the final project that you don't necessarily need to do tonight because it's going to take some more time, we're going to need to add in more options here. So days to ship, I think we already have. Average discount, we already have. We already have profit. We don't have profit margin, right? But we've made that calculated field before in this class, right? It's just profit divided by sales. So we'll need to create a new calculated field, add that in as an option to the parameter, just like we've done before, and then update our calculated field to show that as an option, just like we just did with the ship mode, right? We know how to edit and add those. And orders is another one that we have by default, right? It's just this orders at the bottom here. So we'll need to add those in. Breakout has a couple different ones. Product name, city, I don't think we have in there. And then the x-axis and the y-axis needs some additional things as well too. So I would spend tonight making it look pretty, make it your own. And then either before Wednesday, or you can just come into Wednesday and we will add in those additional things as well. And that's what we'll need to do the final. Then the one thing that we haven't talked about, which I'm going to include in my recording that I send you guys, in addition to the analytics pane stuff that I promised, is the ability to click into a certain state and it'll update that. So that's something that we haven't covered. That will be in my video that I send you guys, is updating that. And then there's also the ability, which is really cool, when I click into a state, see how there's a little learn more button? If I click that learn more button, it actually pops up a Wikipedia page about that state. So there's Nebraska, there's Texas, so on and so forth. So we aren't quite there yet. Like I said, probably 70, 80% of the way done. Some additional things to do. Don't worry about those other two things. Homework, quote unquote, will just be making it look a little prettier. Does that make sense? Cool. I will be on. I'll keep the stream going for another hour or so. No pressure at all if you want to stick around that time or not. Personally, I would not, but you guys are go-getters and more proactive than me, so feel free. Any questions about the remainder of the class? Cool. If you guys are dipping out now, have a fantastic, nice long weekend. Reminder, we do not have class Monday, but you will have a recording to watch before then or after then, I guess. So I will see you guys back in person next Wednesday.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie.
Have a good night.
Hey, Charlie. I missed a step on the scatter plot.
Yep.
For renaming the y-axis measure, axis measure,
Oh, yeah.
and the x-axis. I have everything else. I just
Yep. Super easy.
missed that step.
So just double click into your axis here.
Okay.
And then under the title, instead of custom, which I think it is to start, just change it to, if we clicked into the y-axis, change it to y-axis.
Okay.
Yep. And then for x-axis, same thing. You'll click into it and change it from custom to x-axis.
X-axis. Okay, perfect. I knew it was just one small thing I had missed.
Yeah. Super easy thing. All good.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Hey Charlie, I my Tableau quit out and restarted. The dimension choice, because my scatter plot is not looking like yours.
Okay.
It's just having one region dot. So maybe I need to redo the calculation or something.
You said just for the region it has one dot?
Yeah, so everything else is fine except I think it's the dimension choice calculation. I don't know if I calculated right or something. So
But category and ship mode work for you?
yep, category, region, ship mode. Well, I think if I fix the dimension choice calculation, it should work.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. Do you just get the one dot when you're on region?
Yep. I get the one dot, and it's the same dot for all of them.
Oh, for all three.
Yep.
Okay. But you have your dimension choice and you have these three options.
So I've got the y-axis, I've got the dimension choice. I don't have the x-axis on there, but I can just. Yep. Now it's there.
Okay.
That.
So let's click into the dimension choice calculated field.
So so for some reason, okay, and then we go to edit.
Yep.
So my they're not coming up like highlighted. They're just coming up like black, like just the font.
Okay. Like this part or
So everything is just like a neutral like black font.
okay. Let's just type in, get rid of the black font for the dimension
Yep.
choice.
I cleaned it up. So
And if you just type in dimension, you should be able to just click into that.
okay.
And did it populate in a nice pretty purple?
Yes. So it says if dimension choice.
Perfect. So just do that for all of your ones that are currently in black. So you should have three
I don't know why it didn't pop up before.
purple dimension choices.
So parameter doesn't come up.
No, the only reason that's coming up for me is that I have a calculated field called dimension choice,
So then
and I have a parameter. What?
Do we put it in brackets?
If you were to type it all the way out, yes, but I would recommend just typing in DIM and clicking into that because then it will auto-populate for you.
Okay, so I think that's where I got confused. So I would just put if dimension choice equals, I think that is where I got a little. And then category.
Yep,
Category is still showing up black. Is that okay?
Nope. Again, I would get rid of it.
Oh, I think it's fine now. I have like the SEPA font on my thing. So it might just be that. I think it's fine now. Let me do this. How it works is that there is no after the thing, like it's either now or either you do it now or you forget about it. Could you bring up the calculation one more time?
Yep. And then you just real quick, you have that on your details, right?
Yes, it's showing up there. It's a little bit further down, but it's yes. Give me 1 second. Cool. Yeah, I think I should be good now. Yeah, it's one of those small. So,
If it's still not working, you can share your screen, and I can troubleshoot for you.
I think it's fine. I just need to. I've got to. It's gonna be fine. I think it's work. I think that was the issue. Was the parameter thing? I was just typing that out, and we don't need to do it.
Perfect.
All right. I appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
Yep, absolutely. See you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Celeste, are you still there? If you are, I'm going to end the stream, but feel free to Slack me if you have any questions. I can hop back on.